of mind. And it's mind pervades all levels of consciousness. Given that, when engaging in mindfulness body meditation and doing body scan, when you become aware of a feeling or sensation, a particular part of the body, in that instance, is that where mind resides? Just as the comes and sims in the color kept the just body and the lu Rambanya shout on a comcan ducal and that's to lu on a country about the takje jebel roll, takje jebel kabla, any capture any chick suguna toa mandajra, supe chasha gangshila, and the toa mandaja Johnsona, and the deer cups send the dinner your best. And does the mind reside before it being until young? Take up so and some dinner your bed and the constant tea and consumption and you seem the church and dinner train shall talk about something.
What is Tararis?
Indeed so.
I said, did it? A little manisha. Who's a diamond, Lula diamond, Lurang singing towers, Lurang, Tanang, Lurang, all the tower. One of my Gangwata, and Angela. And similar that you among your age, now seems in the Chanza Shorda. Cola Cadota, Yipta, Sumenza, Musunka, yore, Lu Tamanisha, the Lunalma, Sem the Neve Surche, and it's all. Mendaji live nega Tagaran sim Tagaran saw the Nimdola. Saw the Simjura, Tita Nimdo sim Tagaran Yoresra. Yan te Duk Santa the Yan let Yeru da Yan Yeru New Koran sim racing, Ra Pa Yeru to younger Cheta Sims in the Chanza that Tendero Gile Musin Pa Shuji Zeo Maresra. 서와신 연구도나 용의 용법 코랑 내가 다가라는 심제 용법 보스나야 데스다가 말이야 나다 심 축도라 제산디 다 전반여샤 곰자디 다베다 semgo choya ke thamla yakshu de tanda ukjungu la tene gomja de ta yakshu re do.
The body mindfulness meditation that we have been doing tries to identify the body, not different attributes of the body being impermanent and so on, just to going through different parts of the body and identifying it for what it is. Sim. Yeah, mind is quite difficult. It's a elusive phenomenon, very hard to pinpoint and identify, for it lacks attributes of color, shape, and so on, whereby things become more easy to identify. Mind, with nothing like that, difficult to pinpoint. So, as the questioner has stated, as you do body scan, and then while doing so, notice a sensation at a particular instance, that's where the mind is. As soon as you feel a sensation, that is where mind is, because sensation is a mental factor and omnipresent mental factor, and mind is concomitant with that. So that's where mind is. Just as you think when the mind is there, again you find mind disappearing. That disappears is itself a mind. That which disappeared is also mind. So the long and the short of this is mind is where sensation is.
어디 다단당도 당랑도 한다 전도 카시에 기승한도 이 신의 그 참대래서 다 단단 망보지 안지나 뒤위네 또 자제가는 인거요래 능에 가도이나 다 옥종 롱종한테 고망고 자주다 다 대약셔를 심 라트야 고미약셔데 찍들 니네 롱종한테 곰데 단도 옥 셈게 오게 간라 셈데 고 셈바체 당아 옥추 당거도 파 당거도 지금 하고도 지 당에 옥도 추 용거에 다지 옥나 다여에 소리 지 하고 니스도 신이스도 시베다 지 신이 대찰라 다 셰바 코라는 게 직시에 용거로 셰베 신자는 게 신수요다 그다 여와 제제를 마음이시 단대 내가 올라 신이 코란 셰베서로 샤샤위는 당에 옥도 추시 용거도 그냥 옥타 로도 직시기도 안데 내들가 장가 잡데도 옥 당보데다 니바데마 장가 미투니 잡르데 네 템바덴 보세요거다 템바덴 보세요인데 아니 야지 옥 장가 듄제 정아제 근데가 장가 자두도 아니 남도 데지 용으로 남도 예로 남도 마로로 나와 라면 딱 콘서 샤용 거다 네가 된 것은 다 곰데 야고 차는 거 따딘 거라 근데 당연히 휴자직들 더 잡투도다 아니 남도 배진데스 예외 소차 주미지 뒤용하는 거 근데 자도 데베 내가 대파 가베 가자들 시와다와 지금 오늘 직 대화로 하여튼 내가 곡된 지디움 베저로 봐 주미지 남도 가베 가자데 딘데 직 삼무단에 돈에 타바 둡툭 타바 두비알을 봐도 가라 고녀모 담봉에라래 녀모 게 까마도나네 주미지 남도 직 대베질 심주도야다 아 미딩 알아 직라고도 세로 미징 알 파하려고요 그래서 나 대지 미가 가르치기요는 딘데 삼바 다음에 망보 직샤든지 디제디 가로도 디제 가베 내가 될래 수수수수수래 배 뭐신 거예요 시와로 대화로 어떤데 내가 그 대화지 내가 다가나라다 생무터 연구요로 왔다 대화네 딱 남도 뉴르 친구는 셈데 세르 도 연구로 제가 그 곰디 무티제 자유적으로 자고래서
So many people here also were at Shamanda retreat, as were people online who participated in that, and you will have noticed that I ask participants time and again to do breathing exercise and breathing meditation, because it is said breathing exercise meditation is a very helpful tool to pinpoint what mind is, to pinpoint. Simultaneous means see the face of the mind. That's all. Simultaneous means see the face as it were of the mind. Simultaneous. So for breathing exercise is a very effective tool for that. And so when you inhale, then you think to yourself, breath, I'm inhaling, breath is coming in. That which notices the breath coming in is the mind. And the breath may have an element of hoarseness or peace, whatever. And so it is the mind that knows. And because the mind knows, then by dint of the association, you could say, I know the mind, I know the breathing coming in and so on. The knower could be I. Let's not go there now. Keep it simple and say it is the mind that knows the breath coming in and it knows the breath coming out. So if you can count breath coming in, breath coming going out, and do it two times, and then the mind is immediately quietened, and with that quietude, the mind has also become immediately relatively stable. So if you can then continue counting, for example, 7 times, whereby you can count breath coming in, you are aware of that, breath going out, you are aware of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and during which the mind is absolutely immersed and engrossed in the flow of the breath. And after that, see if you can maintain the momentum of this very efficient breathing meditation, being able to count the full cycles without disturbance at all, whereby the mind is completely focused on incoming, outgoing 1 and up to 15. Then by which time a lot of non-thought, means discursive thoughts, would have settled, and if you can now extend the meditation to counting up to 21 times, whereby if you have a undisturbed, smooth breathing meditation, counting the cycles, whereby the mind is absolutely rooted in the breath and being aware of that, by which time there will be no room for any other thoughts to come in. And thoughts which were in the beginning, you thought there were more thoughts when you started meditating. Now, by the time you counted up to 21 times, there will be no room, because the mind can only entertain one thing at a time at our level of development, and whereby with no room to creep in and no discursive thoughts, the mind will have become very peaceful, peaceful and quiescent. And the absence of thoughts that normally creep in and then ruffle the serenity of the mind, with them gone, you have achieved cessation, similitude, a cursory cessation, and there is peace. And this can point out to us how, just as this temporal cessation can be achieved for yourself and experience it for oneself, if this practice is carried through to its fullest extent, then with the delusion permanently ended, nirvana is also permanent cessation can be so permanent cessation can be achieved. So it's therefore extremely helpful to do this meditation, to see the face of the mind.
그래.
나를.
당연히 리시닝고디 맞지 직직로.
Okay, then with no more questions, I will give you reading transmission, and short commentaries here and there.
데려다 지금의 파워의 고준슈에 동바시와 점에 스타디크신 디셰죠. 미셰반의 도와 전이거든. 도중에 리과제다지는 저거지 제 최남지 티시니 신의 도가보다 마도나 콜레 미르와스니 투지신 기점에 탑지 추던 리베고도 맞을 건데 좋았다. 뒤에 나중에 내마다 예든이 이제다 연구되어 주에 달라베고 대한 계획 손으로지 타와당에 된 넘버제와라를 되니 넘버제와되니 타면된 뒤는 되시 롱장제제는 만신 신의 정보 장애제고 되는 되면 손라래 장애 조제 믿음도 맞이 소매시나 되는 되어시 소마자 이런게 다셔와니 민들의 대제 질러다 맞이랑요 제송마산 장도 민의제 대제 손라지 장애 저 롱된 신의 정보 다지 장애 공부에 대한 게 손라지 대신 되는 내제 단신의 예외 되는 바와 제제도 나는 공부서 타도는 정말로 원인을 저리 보다 그것도 너무 세매요 감을 외치에서 다 재산 제로 뭐지 단도 좀 된데 다 최망고직 송셔요로
네.
최송셔줘도 제 상마 아니 다시 캐들란드로 직당 다시 캐들란드 뭐로 되제니 책이요래서 따로
The parts I've just finished reading pertains to the fact that the great body of the teaching the Buddha has given. There are two parts to the to teaching. There are those teaching that whose meaning can be literally accepted, and there are other parts of the body of the teaching whose literal meaning cannot be accepted on face value.
다 니드에서 다시 캐들란 로한테 체로와 좀 전에 숙만하시 캐란드로 답변아 뒤에 담제 미다고래 최담제 동시 다메버레스야도서 다 니드에서 다야 장된라야 되변아 좀 전에 고베온게 저 마제다르질라 파다만이 세저신스로 단다데 마제다르
나렐
송로와
나렐
다디 응월수 제가 파다마 세저를 송어라들래 전라 파다마 세저를 써야 돼 뇨모바다 시제디와 반자레스 델코고요를 되는데와 능월수 저랑게 파마 세저를 쓰네 데 말람나나 코라 덤발라 데와메 차도고요 제자한테 다 파마 세저를 향해 단다 요마 제도 코랑게 접수 진행부터 종관나는 주는 세로
나렐
디 인자다 디페진 디기 유서레체 덤발라 데와샤야데 무티니 데와 인자 아니 제일 갈래갈래다 마하코인데 파다마 세저레스야데 아니 뇨몬바다 시제디 방자레스 된다 델고네 숭바다 다 지신바데 파다마 세저레스 시그마르바다 다 지신바 켈레는 디그면도 와셔잔데 다 디나시 좀 된데 송 이내 응스 먼저 켈렌시모도 같은데 이게 책인데 연구 여러 되는 건 재단 디즈릭도 장된 시제 직송구 여러
So, teachings of the Buddha whose meaning can be literally accepted and being correct is called definitive meaning. Definitive meaning, and for example, teachings such as all compounded phenomena are impermanent and all phenomena are empty, and all afflicted phenomena are suffering, and so on. These the meaning is as the words of this statements proclaim. Meaning can be literally accepted because indeed compounded phenomena are impermanent. There's nothing there's no need to interpret. Now, teachings of the Buddha whose meaning whose words cannot be literally accepted are called interpretable or provisional teachings. For example, Buddha said to King Ajasattu. King Ajasattu was the son of King Bimbisara. King Ajasattu was called the unborn enemy, Magita. So King Ajasattu killed his father, committed patricide, being an Arya or some of that kind, committed another serious negative thing. But King Ajasattu still wanted to form connection with the Buddha. So then Buddha said to him, father and mother are to be killed. And now uh, the, nobody can take that as literally true. That as a literally true or true in the meaning. But Buddha's thought behind this explicit statement is the father of delusive obstruction and the mother of, for example, obstructions to omniscience. They are to be killed. And Buddha knew that in time he would come to realize the reference of people mentioned in the statement. So such statements are interpretable.
어디네다 세매 기우세야 돼. 세매 기우세야 돼. 그래서 시작하고 요래로.
So Tame give a valid being, the valid person, is quite difficult to define and posit.
다 뒤용어서 용도를 하시네. 딘시랑도와 덴바시 랑도 친지말로 덴바제베 간사데 세매 기우스 시작하고 요래다.
So normally we say a valid being, a valid person, a valid being is someone who unerringly can teach the process of adoption and abandonment of the four truths.
다 계지시 릭보다 미게 왔으니 김진 양다당 김진 양다당 마게 와시와 김진 양다 셰니 무인의 주도 tum바당 아니 양단다베나 딘데 임베이나 고베왕게 내가 때지 되나 치수 아니 즉 타벨람티야 근데 탑라요 간다 릭바당스니 김진 양다당 게니 셰비나 다디 릭바당 게버와 제가 릭바당 게베 줍다 아니 마오버 체메주 메룬스다 제르모신데 송도 릭바당 아 릭바당 게베 줍다 마와 켈레나 아니 마오버 체메주 메룬스 릭바당 게베 줍다스디 제가 다 뒤제 탐제 미다고와 아니 간사 미다고 말에 간사 딱바레 라면은 릭바당 게고 릭바 가르다 게고라서는 ngoyne지 네 간사한테 주버두고도 안 가지고 무슨 그 통구도 알아 미가시에 단다 유기 매와 차도도로 알아 미가시에 네 단다 주요스기스기 단다 주매와 차도 미가시에 단다 주매스기스 주에데 주어도고도 주어도와데 계지게 주어도와데 간라간사 하고 당서 녀에 데 무슨 세마데 릭바 양다와 아니 텐라 줌진 양다 딘데단 게베 줍다 마오데 다 마오버 체메 지오른 거 말해서 저머진 숨어데 데 줌진 데리다
So a valid being also does not contradict fact of reasoning, the power of logic, and that's why Lama Tsongkhapa says a proponent of a tenet system that goes against the force of valid reasoning cannot be accepted to be a valid being, a valid person. A valid statement grounded in fact, reason, is, for example, all compounded phenomena are impermanent. If somebody says that is, if somebody issues a statement, the statement is valid. It's valid because it's backed up by reason and reasoned evidence. And a person, for example, is a compounded phenomenon. And a person, therefore, if somebody says all compounded phenomena are impermanent, but person is permanent, then by the first statement they seem to be valid, but the second statement they contradicted the valid statement. Therefore, a valid person does not issue such a contradictory uh, issue statements counter to valid reasoning. The person changes, it's quite obvious. Now here stops breathing and is dead. And somebody says, I'm happy. And the next moment they say, I have a problem. And somebody who says, I'm okay, I had read somebody who was complaining now says, things are fine, valid, thank for goodness for that, I'm okay. So that clearly shows, evidence shows, person is not permanent. So they who issues that statement cannot be taken to be a valid person.
다음은 언제 다 디케 정보래디 알아서 상만 단지 저 엄마단 되어요래 신이 된 주신 개회 신이시디 다 체매 주지 켈렌적으로 하면서 개회 신이 약보치 채우러라 사지단 남린나라 개회 신이디 체주 도대견래 집에 신이 준된 샤오래 다 신이 준대 단단 닝매 두저들라 제네 다 베데 니비네 다 하고 싶지를 빼나 신이 준대인데 여름무신데 신이 준대래 이내다 여름무신 저거랑 시도야 요마로 링상 온라인 승준 년야 중보된 거서 개워성부 쇼지를 표도 있는 년야라고 요마로 네 이제 람린의 셰워나 신기 300딘즈 900딘즈 300딘즈 등 아주 된적으로 900딘즈도 이내다 지 지부지부지 지도야 개면도 다 알아서 뭐지 간양란 얘기 개겐도 수수기 개신이 봐 다들 딱 가르했다고 그래서 남들라잖아라 제주 숨쉬어요. 대직시에야고 요래. 근데 단다데 정엘의 신용분날라 단다. 근데 제롬부친 양자데 간산라다 신이데 세메기고 따단게 좀봐 탑람지 송요로. 디님도라 지기는 아는 아주 기겐다 저치다 기겐 세다 되게 야고지 신기로와 어디 야고 요래서라.
So this information about what constitutes Teme a non-fraudulent, a valid person, has relevance to our practice, a practical application to choosing a spiritual mentor. So one spiritual mentor should be as valid a person as possible, and a valid spiritual, a qualified spiritual mentor, according to Mahayana Sutra Alamkara, must fulfill 10 defining characteristics. And if they fulfill 10 defining characteristics, then they will become, by dint of those salient properties, valid person that one can really trust and rely on for guidance. Now, this day and age, it's very difficult to find anyone who meets all the 10 qualities of a qualified spiritual master. So, the one who has these qualities is the lone figure of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. But then we are not able to form sound spiritual connection, guru-disciple relationship. And all that we can do is listen to him this day and age, online teaching, but which is in a way quite very fortunate for his subjects and people in Tibet cannot. So now so we can definitely relate to His Holiness as a spiritual qualified spiritual mentor due to meeting positive attitudinal properties, but through action we are not able to do things. Therefore, what is described in three properties that Lamrim text called liberation in the palm of your hand is good enough, as well as what Lama Tsongkhapa has said about valid person. So use these to determine.
다 티주 숨디 가래라이나 최대당 치마니그나네 최치마 조치니로 최대 돈다 지기요 간실라 최치마다 리니 나네 치멜레가 망차치니지 개주 당고들이다 됐다고 그랬어.
So according to liberation in the palm of hand, the first quality of qualified spiritual master nowadays is somebody who emphasizes the matters of future life more important than matters of this life. That means it's not that they do attend to matters of this life, but for them matters of future life are much more important, if that is first one.
다 니와디 견당 연대니는 연대망스라라 견여와 간실라 연당 연대니 수담용디 연대 셰쳐스.
So secondly, between flaws and virtues, they have more virtues. It's not that they have that they have flaws. So that's the second one.
다 숨바디 랑단 신이나네 신조쳐들라로.
Third quality of a guru such this in age is somebody who gives great emphasis to the well-being of others than self.
다 디가랑에 dimbe직 겸나 시차 그래다.
So now shall I dare and add one more?
강 자야 글롭젠데 로마라니레 연델 하고직디 고다.
And that is, there must be more knowledgeable in the areas of subject matter of teaching than their students.
제주 시디체 다 제주 신딘데라 따당 컨데다 오래라도 다데 동일의 신용변나라디도가 전지 온게 시네스 gelon다가 캐난지 세제달라 세신디 렉바달랑 아이가 라운치를 구지 메시지도
No.
어디 디돈에 땄다고 요레스라.
So how can we test? How can we test a guru with these qualities? So the essence of eloquence cites our most commonly quoted sutra stanza, which is don't get one discernment, seeing the importance of this. The Buddha said, scholars and bhikshus and scholars test the gold by way of cutting, rubbing, and so on. You know the stanza, okay? So that one.
나래.
Okay. Okay. 결혼자는 캐노미기 섹시. Okay.
세제달라 세신디.
Okay. Just as goldsmith tests the purity of a yellow metal to be gold by cutting, rubbing, and burning, likewise, scholars, bhikshus, scholars, and then maybe bhikshunis should examine my words using three forms of logic and accept my words as valid if proven valid by one of the three modes of reasoning, not out of respect.
제가 좀 된대지 인주지 그냥 알아 구십치고 말해 승에 마셰션조데 따제치 게 따제체션조데 네 되는 얘기도 민도나 켈랭고 말해 손도 Pena ser sugudu segbatan chebatan darne ene ser yomati nashi ene di chumdinde ki ene tembatan sungbe sungjuyo dan ne gewe shinye de zila odi nashi daje cheguresta tisore ro.
So Buddha gave freedom for his followers to use full force of a logic, the three forms of logic, to analyze the validity of Buddha's teachings. And if they find teachings to be valid on the basis of the tests confirmed by employing the three forms of a logic, then they should accept, and do not accept what I say out of reference for me. And so just as using the imagery of a goldsmith, so in the same way he has given full liberty for his followers to test validity of teaching, validity of the teachers who impart teaching and so on, by using these forms of logic.
对西是了，对西就不嘛咯，大看这大家小事呢，大看上了嘛的，去了的是吧？去。
So then how can we test? Test by using four reliances, the four reliances. So then Buddha says, do not rely, do not rely on person, but rely on Dharma.
대 좀제 가시나 강산데 가르이미 강산데 라견 가르이미 마데베체 강산데 송베 최디 최양다고 이미 어디다 그래서 다디 송라 최디라 다 그래서.
So test the validity of the teaching given, and not by validity the person as the person per se, and by seeing whether seeing the faults, weaknesses of the person. So rely on Dharma, not on person.
나라서 팅사 미망무지 강산 다고요래 출 다고요 말에 강산 깨다 친구이나 아니 다 직사다 가르시에네 리고래 대 최디 능의 되는 얘기 유매다 아니 직덤베 숭다다 유매다 아니 딘데다 제 마제베체 강산디 깨다 친구래지는 다가나 레라데 어디 지기요 말에서 준데 대숭구요래다.
So what Buddha said then now makes a lot of sense for these days. People don't judge the teaching; they judge the person. If the person is popular, and then without checking what they teach, people just follow. So that's what Buddha means.
다 최디 칙름마다 törté는다 서봐. 칙년보 된데라. 칙년보를 차기도 하든사. 이 된다되다. 된다되 당원에 심규되다 당. 지치마 팬답당. 신라 팬답고 된다지 인다면 된다되 양타고지 인 된다든 거인의 주의면 된다고 그러면서 칙름다지요 말에. 칙름마다 törté는다 서봐.
So rely not on words, but rely on adornment, content, or the meaning. And that's very important, litmus test, as it were, because these days there are who can, charlatans, very articulate, but the content is elusive, and so the meaning of the statement should be such that they help one in one's understanding of the topic, that fact, or it helps one's practice. So do not rely on words, but on meaning.
다 된다데 양 장되라마다 녜된라 됐어봐. 장되어서도 다그 된다데 아니 자신이 칸들란들로 많이 봐. 자신이 칸들란들로 왜 된다지고 뭐이네 주단 틈바 뭐이네 줄라 요와 tanda takda yunyechi ko urimishi jiga tanda dashi kedirlandi miruwa mayingi kedirlandi ruwa yunyechi ta odi ko yore esa odi sungu yore.
So when it comes to relying on meaning, then Buddha said, rely not on the provisional, interpretable, but on the definitive. So the definitive teachings are teachings whose statements can be literally accepted as being accurate and is and accords with facts on the which accords with the ground reality. So when it comes to relying on choosing meaning, choose not the interpretable but the definitive, whose meaning and words can be explicitly accepted.
다 ngedunde yang onshi lama da ishi la des. 다 ngedun shinyi de ngzo onshi gi yu la da chadewa mayimba ishi gi yigi ngeshi nye de wachila. Ani shagu yore sta di shi yore.
When it comes to choosing the definitive, don't rely on the definitive certified by sense consciousnesses, but rely on the definitive established, determined by wisdom consciousness.
다디 랍자야고 쉽지도 와라. 디게 랍자디 내가서 신이 된주가는 수 람나 자위나 다 간산 담에외 넘바 연구를 담는 연구를 세상다 개회 신이 탐제 네 산제당 공부량 버렸어야 돼. 추 차는 시기로 좀 된데 근데 제일 먼저 단다 폐외이네 당연히 신용보다 남는 친구들도 숨거래 좀 된데 단다 숨배이네 폐외이나 셔런용보다 숨거래 돈다 되게 돼 간다 잔죽쌤다 동반이다 두선 냠nen시지 산제고 못하고 그랬어 이 숨거래미지 대를 하고 성해요 뭐라 지금 대찬에네 기회 신이 담제다 산제다 냠버릴래야 돼 예 삼무 데이터네 당겨요다 간산들라 담으로 연구를 용거래다 최대 직벌이셨다 수송배이나 산제의 송배이나 디징 출래 닝제다 찬주선의 동반이 냠는 지고고 요래 습다 제롬부진게 다른 송도가 아니 제메 페베이네 송야다 남는 점보다 나를 점보다 알아래 남는 점보다는 찬주선 냠는 지단다 네 돈이 다 다와 냠는 지단 뒤에도 또 탑신이 송용거라 세상 어디인데 좀제든데 전에 삼담배이나 아니 간산라마도 쳐렸던 사야지 다다 야구 쉬우지 도더라
Of these four reliances, the first one and so on has direct relevance to our practice of forming relationship with our spiritual guru or mentors. And because the first statement of the first reliance says, do not rely on the person but on the teaching. So that's quite true. There can be all kinds of people, but what they teach matters, but not what they look like and their status. So it is said in the Guru Devotion chapter of Lamrim, for us, our spiritual mentor is equal to the Buddha. There's no way the Guru in this human form can be equal to the Buddha. There are many differences, seeming shortcomings, so on. But what they teach, and what Buddha taught, and what Lama Tsongkhapa taught, the Dharma, the message is the same. If Lama Tsongkhapa were here today to teach, he would teach, for example, essence of the eloquence. If Buddha came and you ask for teaching. Let's say he teaches Heart Sutra. And now, so for me, the message, the transforming, enlightening message of different teachings imparted by by my human guru, not with the same level of perfection physically with the Buddha and so on, uh, really helps me develop a closer connection and between my guru and the Buddha. So Lama Tsongkhapa himself, when once called upon by his disciples who missed him after his parinirvana, and he said, even if I come back to you, I will be teaching Lamrim. I will be teaching stages of Tantra. So anyone who imparts the content of the Dharma without adulteration as is a valid teacher. And if Buddha came, he will be teaching emptiness. He will be teaching compassion. Now, is the emptiness, is the message on compassion given by Guru somewhat falls short of validity as taught by the Buddha?
Oh yeah, 다 곰데스 자 말해.
So let's do a short meditation, shall we?
다 당고 전환서 디 롱종치 비딩 exercise this
So could you do?
생각 발라발라 망보 쉐라스 니 현재 갈래 카데.
So I'm sure you feel information overload, and now relax and do some breathing exercise.
아이 다 되네 곰자니 지가디. 니 규진라 되네 겨레도 와스다. 파말라 되네 겨와다. 규진 몽보신네 겨 인자. 규진라 메데베 라오다. 자자자민도 삼네. 삼노시 다나야 오요레스.
Now come to realize that meditating eye, doing breathing meditation has evolved out of many causes and conditions, out of a matrix of many causes and conditions. And therefore, that which depends on causes and condition is absolutely empty of any independence, and therefore come to realize the meditating I self, being dependent on causes and conditions, is without independence.
다 주진을 되는 주원인자 주진도 그 주어도다 주어대 계지 도요인자 아니 나데 다 미다고 레도 알아 인자 아니 견지를 메데 따고 따배 가지다 자자 자민도 삼너와.
So since I evolves out of a matrix of ever-evolving causes and condition, if evolve means changing, causes themselves are changing. Therefore, that which is produced by evolving causes is also changing, must change. Uh, Given that if anything changes moment by moment, uh, falling changes in the causes must be impermanent, bereft of permanence.
다 풍부 진직치도 nga 진직치도 스타디 풍부 땅 nge lu 진직체와 nge lu 주어도 nga 주어도 nge 심 주어도 nga 주어도 그요 어디야 오지 시행고랬다.
Also need to know with the birth and the death of aggregates, I die, I am born, I die, and so with with the changes in the mind, I change. So in other words, it's very important to see uh, this relationship between the aggregates and I, how I change due to the changes in aggregates like body and mind.
어야다 다른 쇼뱅은 간딜하지 제 앞서서도 저데 셋업 샤샤로
Okay.
따디마 두그레스로 드디어 가르도르스나니 반덴자베 라마람 보치 다기 쭈루 빼메 텐슈네 에스데스 담데네 이 페제티 칙디 요나디야고도 디 두게 디나 어디 세디샤 반덴자베 라마람 보치 다기 쭈루 빼메 텐슈네 에스데네 초주 제어세다 제어다 탐제 제업세스나 팀 제업세스니 세니디 아니 제르모진라 팀 아니 세니기 슈그리단 디 제르모진 슈그릴라 팀 제르모진데 두수 지우네 인디네 파카주르제 다기 지우르 빼메 ሹ스 어두스 예스 데삼다나에 오레스.
So this morning I had to visualize visit before oneself Lama Tsongkhapa and his two disciples. Now it's time to dissolve them, and do means dissolve. Before your dissolution, feel that they are not just Lama Tsongkhapa and disciples, but they are charged with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Therefore, feel Buddhas and Bodhisattvas dissolve into the three figures. And of three figures, feel that the disciples dissolve into Lama Tsongkhapa, and the seeds of the disciples dissolve into the seeds of the dissolve into Lama Tsongkhapas, and then Lama Tsongkhapa comes down and alights and rests on atop your crown of head, and then changes the direction, faces now the same as you do. And there, then recite the first two lines of the stanza. Pandin Tsara Lama Rinpoche, O precious Guru, O precious glorious Guru, Tagichu Penditenshala, come down to the crown of my head and rest on atop the lotus. And then then after that, you say, give us the blessings of a body, spirit, and mind.
Dilaya da dawe jingo di dilaya jerum ching shugdi di dilama timro bama dama jiwa ta shugdi mewa suna yagdo ane bama dama che nima bama na di nyindien che te shugdi yoyote andi ne da jerum che ma penta jerum che mi shi yomarwa panden zawe la moram jen dagin dimbar bama din shungla kadin chimbe goni chodang tumungu rupze di su yoyos chene odinde la guyor da digirwa.
So then feel that Lama Tsongkhapa dissolves into you after having requested blessings of body, spirit, and mind when he was seated atop the crown of your head. Feel that the seat of Lama Tsongkhapa, now really miniature size to Lama Tsongkhapa, if you like, then dissolves. The seat dissolves comes down through the central channel, and then the seeds sit above the 8-petal lotus at your heart. And then the seed of Lama Tsongkhapa has further lotus and the sun cushion on top. Anyway, the first line we recited is asking Lama Tsongkhapa to alight on the crown of head. Request is give us the transforming blessings of body, spirit, and mind. Next, you recite the same line. Pandin Tsara Lama Rinpoche, glorious, precious Guru, come and rest at the throat of my throat. And then you say, Chotan Tumung, bestow to me the common and uncommon spiritual siddhis or boons.
Ani tanda we nyinga ge ta pema dama dinala ma de pema ding de ani we ka bo ji ro samno ta we ka bo de su sim thamo di yin the ani dimbal shu we jerum ba chen de ani ma tim je me we su sim thamo de la ani jerum ba chen tim je ta jerum ba chen ki kusung tu ta su sim thamo de ngo ye me di gyur song the ro jene pande za la ma ra ma je ta ge nyinga pe me ten shu de kadin chimegone jesunde chanju ningbo pa temba shosta chise sanje kuma mata pa da ne sem thamo ta cheram ba chi kusun tu yeme de ne shuba gyurji samod de samdang res
Kishilati tante tin jerm shuri chorwa so din gal den ani shugri kang de ti ba ta taw pema che nima yoro
peme nan de
nima yabu chur ma chur
nime go de tawre
nima gan ben den sumur
peme de dawa di shiwa chundere do
los so
peme nang de
los
pema ya khalande ra
lare dinala
nima che nime ne de nime kan de dawa che dawe ji de la we ya buddhi jo che this is a sim thamo di yin de la jerum che ini shune tim che zo timna
los
tane ya wera
slight change with the seed of Lama Tsongkhapa at your heart. You need to add one more element, and that is we have visualized the seed shrinking in small size and then resting on top of a 8-petal lotus at the heart level of the chest. Then inside the lotus, okay, inside the lotus, now there is
Nima.
inside the lotus at your field there is a sun, and on top of sun disk field there is a moon disk. Upon the moon disk there is a special light, and the light represents your extremely subtle mind and the wind. And then you recite Pandit Lama Rinpoche, this one, precious, glorious Guru, please come and alight and take place at the heart level of my chest. And then guiding me through lifetimes compassionately. Then now rest within my heart unto the state of Buddhahood. Then feel that Lama Tsongkhapa's mind and your mind, your subtle mind, now have become inseparable, such that until your enlightenment, there is Lama Tsongkhapa residing inside you. And then that's what you say. Remain immutably until the essence of enlightenment is achieved. Long.
Arabas na this yego jabra and mimi the yongo ja and de to katsumje that dinala and so symptom de da that lama zonga ngo yemechin shude yet and that to you ne jik chobopia and lama sanje lama chu tijin lama kuni lama na chobise ba that or de chobina 당원에 두배 쳐봤어. 두배 쳐봐. 자, 아니 라마 zonga between number ko jawne jaw jesungya. Lame jesungya, lame shabdo tuya, lame duwe chokwe ta dinde. An lame guzun tu ki chinlab je. Lame chinlab simla juks. Lame chinlab simla juks. O dus chuk dan re da. Dus chik yong yo dus sam dan tu na ane ya go yores.
Tikijana inkyu teshe pa shushirwal. Ane pema kostum dinal ane chiki peme kangdalwa arapati yagojarwa.
Pema zu khadzum barwa.
Re.
Arapati yagojab.
Long. Mixima
yongojab su khadam.
Long. Ane khadsumrwa.
Khadzum. Ane dinal da shuk der su. De nyader da.
Ada ta arapati nigante pema tuderwa.
Pema khadam sharutsa tal.
Allah sunas.
Mazo zangu khajawna.
Lare. So now feel that the lotus, the tips of the lotus now come together, and now upon the tips of the lotus, visualize Om Arabhajana, clockwise. Om Arabhajana clockwise, and on the outer circle of that enclosed tips of the lotus, visualize Mikmi Teve Techen Chenresik Mixima going anti-clockwise. And then feel that now you have encapsulated the essence of Lama Tsongkhapa within the ultimate nature of your mind, and now inside you atop inside you within your heart is your mind and Lama Tsongkhapa inseparable, and then with the mantras of Arapasa and Mixama, then feel that now the three jewel, the body, spirit, and mind of Lama Tsongkhapa and you become inseparable, and namkin kanchi choba karpyong ko kichira lama choba ngudza
lama sanje lama chue sejo
long.
ngazo dijun chuzol pubra odil.
So then you could recite Lama Sangye Lama Che Deshin Lama Kendinde. Lama Guru is Buddha, Guru is Dharma, Guru is Sangha, and recite that. And whenever you consume any beverages and food, say that and make offering to the Guru, Lama Tsongkhapa, inseparable from your mind. This is most effective way of making offerings, pleasing, and then it is also most effective way of being guided inseparably in all lifetimes unto the state of enlightenment. And so this is the heart matter of Guru yoga practice.
ngazo de chik de yore yona den je en samshan de.
So do you have a Bandhan Lama Rinpoche? I think there is page 57. Yes.
Yeah, yore.
Glorious and precious Guru, come take your lotus and meditate right here upon my head, and keep me safe in your great kindness. Bestow on me, please, the powerful attainments of your right speech and mind. O glorious and precious Guru, come take your lotus and meditate at my heart, and keep me safe in your great kindness. Remain steadfast until I achieve Guruhood. By this merit may I quickly attain the state of the Guru Buddha, and may I lead unto that state every being without exception.
Oya, ta de shara. Ha dogon drilling chora. Drilling.
So we'll stop and do not discussion.
Drilling de da khar chora, drilling. Na drilling de da thanda de taji rang ji tong, taji takba wa jiwo rang san de chiriwe de da de, ro.
No.
O de ya wo ji che ende ne tangzi henje, ro, tangzi henje. Tangzi henje yue da me, tangzi henje tang, tangzi kunda cheba. So che ende ne thanda gewe shin ge namdela jang sinyi sum che tegan chinyi shi che. Ane thanda leshe nyingbu ge temba shi chula me de khansan de sejo, khansan me de chula de temba shi. O dije de drilling do shen dira.
So for tonight, could you discuss the following? One, Takje Rawanjangita means permanent unitaries and independent self, posited by non-Buddhist school. And then see the difference between Takzin Henki, innate grasping at permanence, and Kunta means intellectually formed grasping at permanence. Number 3, could you consider the 3 defining characteristics of a guru spelled out in liberation of the palm, liberation in the palm of hand, plus the one that I added, that the guru should be more knowledgeable in the subject matters areas than the disciples. So please consider them, talk about them. Finally, could you consider the 4 reliances? For example, do not rely on the person but on Dharma and so on.
다선이 쇼베 아니 꿀롱 검데서 잡단다 간델라제 때 안저 다른 쇼베 데 두즈브냐 체바 다디데 유링즈 셴네 워라 우중우르데 아니 상상 믹즈마 때때 사제 간다 가보 마보 옹보 간남 바숨제 류가 이숨 디딥 차야디 다 가서 purification 소라다 디딥 차야 어디 치tum나야고도 하다.
And tomorrow morning, as always, in your meditation, could you first of all redefine motivation and then recite 100 deities of the joyous land prayer, and then also do Duzi Bepjang, means nectar purification, receiving white light rays and nectar, doing specific purification, red, and doing the specific, and blue, and all of them together, and so on. So do this purification. So while reciting Mikzima, then you could do this Duzi Bepjang, means nectar casket purification.
And the Sansan Mixima Town, Sansan Mixima Samshaje, Uk Tenje, Ugnane, Tarange Chamber, Diawoda, Ujung, Lunjon Dandani, and it is with Janchadi, Pigeon Diawoda.
And then sometimes you can stop reciting Mikzima and then do breathing meditation or exercise, and also just as we did this morning, nectar purification by drawing in different lights and so on.
Do you have a question?
I just wanted to double check that it was just inside the tips of the lotus anti-clockwise. It was just Mikzima.
Oh yeah, okay. 다른 쇼 그시라 되지 믹스마지로. 제름부지 에너지 때면도 빼마 카툼 사러. 믹스마디 그래서 아라바자디 야고제 믹스마 연구로. 빼메 때 카툼백 빼메 빼지라 요리 빼메 때 카툼백 나을요서.
빼메 제 칠롤.
Outside, on top, yeah.
To regu kadaman shi down.
It's like when you have a bag, bring tight, then they come together, and then on the what?
They bind it.
Yeah.
Okay, we should up here now. Ye me no da re ra le shi nin de jin ba. Ye de wa ye do ga nan da shin la je pa ra shu. La de shi na ga tin le cho ju je wa dang lo san de me de me sa. De me se da do ne yo ji. Gururana Mindela Kamniya Tayamis. Gyodi Yudula.
May I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. May the purest view of emptiness that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. Whatever slight positive potential I may have created, by carrying homage, offering, and acknowledging my fault, rejoicing and requesting that the Buddha's strength by no dedicated all those for full awakening. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praise of the beast, by the victorious ones thus far to the three times, so that I might perform the noble bodhisattva deeds. May they cling no darkness from paths where garment reckless flowers. May the elements of obstacles be pacified, and all the conducive circumstances be complete. The which grant the English fulfilling joy, source of every simple benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech. May all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. They thereof smiling teachings and transmigratory things. The nights extremely clear the path for the unification of emptiness and compassion. Be the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso I beseech. May all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You who uphold the secure moral way, save us the bountiful hero of all.